So enjoy, buckle up, as they say, and have a safe flight, and enjoy the event.
My name is Catrin Mattsson, and I'm IATA's area manager for the Nordic and Baltic area.
My name is Ioannis Mavroidis. So, Ione, you were very close to pronounce the last name correctly. I'm aviation industry analyst for the Nordic and Baltic, and I'm a colleague of Catrin, so we work at the same office. Currently, both working from different places due to the pandemic and the situation. So I'm very glad to be among well-known industry partners and friends, but also get to know new people that I would like to ask to, raise their questions, raise their hands, and enjoy today's webinar, because this is for you. So having said that, I would like to ask the next speaker, Artūras, to present himself, say some few words about what you do, and although I am pretty sure that people know you very well in Lithuania.
Okay, thanks, Ioannis, for introduction. Well, yeah, my name is Artūras Stankevičius, and I'm really glad to be here with you and to share some insights and to show you the overview of what's happening now here in Lithuanian aviation industry. In aviation, I'm for not like an old guy, but from quite a long time, from 2005, so more than 15 years in aviation industry in different areas, starting from ground handling, moving to airports, state-owned company, and now representing all the aviation industry in Lithuania as association manager. Thanks.
Very good. Let's now listen to Audrius. Audrius, yes.
Yeah. Hello. Yes. So I'm Audrius Tamulevičius from Invest Lithuania. I'm a key account executive at a global business service team. So my job is to make sure that the foreign investors we have here in Lithuania are happy and comfortable operating their business here, and also trying to figure out what we can do better in order for them to actually grow here bigger. So yeah, that would be a short introduction.
Thank you so much. Let's move to Simonas.
Hello, everyone. My name is Simonas Bartkus. I'm kind of aviation analyst these days. Usually collecting local and not only local data about the industry, and sharing my insights via different channels. So I'm really happy to be here as well.
Thank you so much, Simonas. Then we have Rūta.
Yep. Hello, I'm Rūta Jucienė from Scandinavian Airlines, responsible for global key accounts at Scandinavian Airlines in Europe, and quite a bit with this industry. This year is 28 years with the SAS, so I have some kind of insight from Scandinavian and Lithuanian business.
Thank you so much, Rūta. 28 years is something to celebrate. And then our last keynote speaker is Žydrė. Žydrė, you would like to present yourself? Just unmute. You need to unmute yourself.
Hi. Thanks for arranging this beautiful event. My expertise is in travel, business, and tour operators. 16 years in this business and 10 years and actively running association activity. So I'm 10 years president of the National Tourism Business Association, which unites tour operators and travel agents, and the third cadency, the president of Tourism Chamber of Lithuania, which unites all the travel businesses in Lithuania. So happy to be here with you in this very special moment for travel business.
Very good. Thank you so much, Žydrė. So now we can start with some opening presentation by my colleague, Catrin Mattsson, Area Manager for IATA at Nordic and Baltic. So Catrin, would you like to share your presentation and start with the opening words?
Well, it's a pleasure to join this webinar, even if I'm longing for the time that we can meet in person instead. But many thanks to Joni and the entire team of the Swedish Chamber of Commerce in Lithuania for a good collaboration and also for hosting this event. And it is really a great pleasure for me to join to discuss such important topics like business connectivity and aviation. And I will start this presentation with a few words about IATA. We are the trade association for the world's airlines. Our 289 member airlines from 120 nations around the globe represent about 82% of air traffic. As an international organization, we collaborate with colleagues around the world. Our headquarters is in Montreal in Canada, and the executive office is in Geneva. We are represented around the world with regional office in all the different continents. Regional office for Europe is situated in Madrid, and in Europe, IATA also has a EU affairs team in Brussels. We have 11 area offices, including the office in Stockholm, where the Nordic and Baltic team is based. The Stockholm office serves the Nordic and Baltic countries, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, Norway, Iceland, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark, including the Faroe Islands and Greenland. IATA was founded in 1945 to promote safe, regular, and economical air transport for the benefit of the people around the world, and to provide means of collaboration among the enterprises engaged in international air transport, and also to cooperate with ICAO and other international organizations. Through the years, we have experienced some good times and challenging ones. And as we mark our 75-year anniversary this year, times have never been more challenging for the aviation industry. Well, as for all organizations and businesses, it's important to have a vision and a mission. For us, our vision is working together to shape the future growth of a safe, secure, and sustainable air transport industry that connects and enriches our world. And our mission is to represent, lead, serve the airline and serve the airline industry. And what do we do? Well, IATA supports the aviation business by several activities. A global industry needs international standards. This is crucial for connectivity, and it makes it easier for passengers, airports, and airlines. We are helping the industry by setting regulatory standards together with ICAO, EASA, and other organizations. Among the recent examples, you find guidelines for the restart of aviation in the light of the pandemic. We also deliver our own standards for the industry, like e-ticketing. We are also advocating for better regulatory and business environment. During the crisis, we have been focusing on the advocacy part, which we have divided in 3 pillars: financial relief, operational and regulatory measures, and the needed market stimulation and restart of aviation. IATA is also offering products and services to air transport stakeholders in almost every area. This part include trainings, financial settlement systems, IATA solutions, IATA code, consulting, and business intelligence, and many other products and services for the travel and aviation industry. We are the trade organization for the world's airlines, as I mentioned earlier, but I would also like to highlight the close collaboration we have with travel community. Some 60,000 travel agents worldwide are IATA accredited. As a training organization, besides our wide range of online courses, we also offer classroom and in-company training. And we are also collaborating with training partners. The last month, we have established a partnership in Lithuania with Kazimieras Simonavičius in University, KCU, in Vilnius. And KCU is the first IATA authorized training center in Lithuania. Aviation plays a unique role in connecting business to markets, reuniting family and friends, discovering new cultures and lands, bringing people together and solve problems, as well as building understanding and developing global insights. But currently, the aviation faces the biggest challenge in its history. As mentioned, a global industry needs international standards. But in the light of COVID-19, the world has become more divided. and we have lost much of the important connectivity. So to answer the question that is the headline for this webinar, has the aviation industry recovered? And the short answer is no, not yet. And according to our forecast, it may take a while. We estimate that the passenger volumes may not recover 2019 levels until late of 2024. And please note the range of uncertainty as well. So there is reasonably desperate times for the airlines. Border restrictions, especially quarantine measures, have undermined one of the cornerstones of the European development, the free movement of people. The obvious question in these desperate times, while we are fighting for our survival, what do you prioritize? What do we prioritize? In an emergency board meeting in June, the airlines CEOs serving on the IATA Board of Governors committed to 5 principles for restarting the aviation industry. These principles are listed at this slide, and I would like to especially highlight 2 of them. One important principle is that the aviation industry, despite this severe crisis, is committed to keep the environment target. A green recovery of air transport is a priority for IATA and our member airlines. The other principle I wish to highlight is safety and security. Safety has always been a top priority for commercial aviation, and that is also the case during the pandemic. The aviation industry has implemented a temporary multi-layered approach for health and safety of passengers and crew. This is to ensure that air travel is not a vector for COVID-19 transmission. I know that Vilnius Airport, the airlines and the travel and aviation community in Lithuania have implemented several measures aligning with international guidelines to reduce the risk of spreading the virus. Aviation earns its reputation on safety with each and every flight. But this is not different from flying in the time of COVID-19. A recent IATA study found that 86% of recent travelers felt that the industry's COVID-19 measures were keeping them safe and that the measures were well implemented. Science shows that the risk of contracting the virus on board is very low. The air on board an aircraft is actually very clean. This is because of the implemented health measures and some specific factors, such as the HEPA filter and the way the air flows in the cabin. So the air on board an aircraft is actually cleaner than in most indoor environments. A recent study shows that 1 out of 27 million passengers may have got infected during a flight. So the risk of contracting the virus on board appears to be in the same category as being struck by lightning. What we need now is to reconnect the world. We strongly recommend the governments to cooperate and to remove quarantine restrictions and restart air travel. We think that a systematic approach to COVID-19 testing pre-departure will provide an effective way to reopen borders without quarantine. We also need a harmonized approach to travel restrictions. The current patchwork that is constantly changing is actually a nightmare. During this difficult time, it requires collaborations between the government and also with the travel and aviation sector for a safe restart. To overcome the current crisis, additional state support will also be needed, but definitely also a regulatory framework that may restore confidence in traveling. The industry is ready to fly. We need to work together to shape the future growth of a safe, secure and sustainable air transport industry that connects and enriches the world. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions or concern, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thanks a lot.
Catrin, thank you so much. Before we move to the next presentation, I do have a question that comes up quite often. People usually ask IATA if there is any best practice that we see adopted by any kind of government in dealing with the pandemic. What is your overall impression so far? What do you think has been a best practice or not during this crisis?
I would say that the aviation industry, including the airports, the airlines and ground handlers, etc., they responded very well. They have implemented several measures to ensure safety while flying. But I'm quite disappointed about the response from the governments. While we are facing global threat as a pandemic, we also should need a global response, and we should collaborate. But instead of a strengthened collaboration, we have seen a world which is more divided than ever and a lot of fragmentation. And that is something that I'm really, really disappointed about. So what I would really like to see now is a political leadership where governments, the EU and also globally comes together and agree upon how we should address this in the best way and collaborate between the governments and together with the travel and aviation industry.
Thank you. Hopefully the message is quite well and loudly heard also by the newly elected government in Lithuania. So thank you again, Catrin, for a very good presentation. We will now move to the next speaker. This is Artūras. He will present an overview of the aviation industry in Lithuania. So Artūras, would you like to share your presentation?
Yes, sure, Ioannis. Just give me a second. And it should be here.
No stress.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's loading, so I think
yeah, we kind of used to that, unfortunately.
Yes. We will be traveling soon, so we will be all meeting soon at some point.
But it's can you see my presentation?
No, it's not yet.
Yeah, but it seems that someone else sharing some other presentation.
If you would like, maybe I can share the presentation myself.
Just let's try one more time. It should work. Yeah, loading.
Great.
No?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so great.
The floor is yours.
So, yeah, okay, thanks, Ioannis. Yeah, once again, it's a pleasure for me to be here with you and to share some insights and what they have ground. And of course, there will be no a big surprise, but we are facing a lot of issues in general, and all the aviation market is like in the survival mode, let's say, and each of the sector survives it differently, and I will talk only for those sectors which I represent as association president. So that would be airline, ground handling, maintenance organizations, training organizations. But of course, we fully understand that our colleagues from air navigation, from the airports, that they are facing the same problem, the same headaches as we are. So as I said in the beginning, each service provider survives it differently. So I try to summarize some figures in percentage how all the companies inside of the association dealing and where they standing at the moment. So from the beginning of the pandemic, all the activities squeezed, of course, quite a lot, and revenues went down for sure. And now when we are going for our second lockdown in Lithuania from Saturday till December, so probably the figures will be even worse. But just comparing the sectors, I can see that probably airlines in Lithuania, basically all the ACMI operators, they are facing the crisis probably most. Then the maintenance organizations, of course, they have their own issues, but they are facing the COVID inside the hangars. They are fighting with the virus inside the hangars, how to be able to maintain the aircraft. And maybe what I see from some figures that airlines which operates with the smaller aircrafts, business jets, they are finding the niche to come back to some market much easier. And if you have some agreements for the government for the local flights and not international ones, so you are some kind of probably lucky at this stage. Another thing which worry me a lot, so it's numbers of employees, and 36% is the average from all the companies. But just I can mention that for you just to understand the figures, that airlines, for example, Gadget or Avion Express, they reduce the number of employees in times from 200 up to 100 or less. Or Gadget in the beginning of year, Gadget had more than 400 employees, and now we down probably to 40, only administration stuff left. So that's of course one of the biggest issues. And I see the threat that colleagues, the aviation staff, which works for different companies, now they like turning away from aviation and trying to find some other more reliable jobs elsewhere, not in aviation, because we hear from the news, from the press, that it's like aviation is suffering, tourism is suffering, so we are trying to find some safer place beyond the sun. And so yeah, that's our government support is needed. So I hope that some support will carry on with the new government as well. You see some flight figures and the passenger numbers. So of course, comparing with the figures from last year, the flights are down. They are down almost more than half, and but it's even worse that they are flying basically empty. And load factor of 35%, it's, I don't know, it's a nightmare for each carrier. It doesn't matter if you are low cost or legacy. And remembering that probably low cost was targeting for 75-80% of load factor for like efficient flight, and legacies was happy with 60% last year. So now with 35, I don't know, it's probably that will not stay as it is, and probably the announcements from the airlines, it shows already that they are canceling and dropping the flights for next months. So that probably those figures that we see now in my slide will go down. But anyway, it's not everything so bad, and as you well know, each crisis can give some opportunity for us. So at this moment, our National Aviation Authority, TKA, has 3 application forms for new airlines to come to Lithuania, AOC. They are applying for AOC. All 3 of them are wet lease-based operations, ACMIs. The plan to start the operations, all of them, is beginning of next year. Must say that not all of them decided to start the operations because of the COVID. Some of the airlines made that decision before that this mess started. So, but anyway, it shows us that small new airlines with a low fixed cost base, they see the opportunity to come into the market and to take some part of the cake. So all the best to them, and let's hope that Lithuania will have more aircraft with our Lithuanian flag on the tail. And nevertheless, also all this crisis bring back, I would say, yes, bring back the discussion about connectivity in Lithuania. And this discussion was also, it's coming probably every year, that we have to do something in Lithuania with connectivity with Lithuania. Maybe it would be a national carrier or something else. So now the discussion also started, and maybe I would say started a bit in a different approach to the problem. And I can see that the government, the project team which leads this project for virtual airline, they understand that the connectivity is what should be the key factor for Lithuania, knowing that Lithuania don't have any national carrier, or our market will not be the number one for other airlines to choose. So I believe that if we would go with this project, we could use it quite efficiently, and it could work out for Lithuania. So, and some key facts from this project, that it would be a joint venture between our country and private sector, would be more than 35 million invested as a capital for the startup for first 6 years, for this project to happen, for this business case to happen. And its assessment shows that the 7th year and further should be profitable. And from those 35 millions, the project team assessed that some key destinations would be served into Lithuania. So you can see in my slide, there was 14 or 15 destinations, which could be the first destinations for virtual airline. A beginning of the operation should be also not also, but end of 2021. So a lot of still open question in this project, and of course, knowing that new government came in, they have to probably evaluate this project, and they will tell their own opinion. And if it's go ahead, then probably there's some work with European Commission also will be we will have to do. What else? Yes, what do we learn from this crisis? I believe that we are still learning, and the exam is still happening. We are sitting all in a classroom somewhere, and it was and it still is a big challenge and test for all of us, for all our stakeholders. We are talking about like aviation industry as one, but in reality we can see that each sector's industry, private businesses, airports, government, air navigation has their own view to this problem, and they are trying to solve alone. And if you are coming as from the side of the industry, they are not really willing to share some plans or some views how we could solve all those problems. So that cooperation between all stakeholders, it's a must. I don't know. I believe that we could do much better than now we are doing all together. And probably another bullet point which I put it. It's quite a fresh one, and yeah, sounds crazy, but we do learn that sometimes in this crisis you can expect from the government that it was before, that the taxes and fees for aviation industry will go up from next year. So it's hard to believe, but yeah, it's the signature of the ministries on that paper. We're still in discussion how we can, I don't know, cancel it, but some fees are growing quite rapidly, and I can tell you one example just to imagine that the annual fee for the airlines would go up from 3,000 to up to 16,000, and we are talking about such taxes in the face of the COVID and the second lockdown. So I honestly cannot understand and somehow to explain why.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting. For the sake of time, we need to move forward. So if you could wrap up a bit so that.
Okay. Yeah. Great. I will finish not with like a pessimistic voice. I am always optimistic. So involvement of the government, of course, it's really important. But just we have to have a knowledge about aviation that it would be easier to come up with some decision. Strategy for aviation is a must. If we will have some strategy for aviation, we will deal any other future crisis much easier. We have to be prepared for that. We have to know our second steps, what we want to achieve in Lithuania with the aviation, with the airports development, with the connectivity, etc. And it would be much easier. And what we can expect from election, I expect, and probably all of aviation industry expect quite a lot. For the first time, we had a quite nice discussion before the election with all the parties and parties leaders, and the discussion was about aviation industry and the future of it in Lithuania, and all the coalition now with the center-right had the same view, that at first we have to have the strategy, and the aviation industry can give much more to Lithuania then. And going to last slide. So as basically I finished, bright future with some turbulence ahead. So thank you.
Thank you again, Artūras. So while Audrius is preparing for his presentation, may I ask you because that has somehow caught the media attention in Lithuania. You mentioned also as well the fact that there are some plans for creating a virtual airline. Do you see any major obstacle for this to happen, or what would be, let's say, your estimation on the feasibility of that project?
At this time, I see quite a few obstacles, but probably the main obstacle just that new government should understand what the project is about, how the virtual airline could work, and then probably the decision will come. But we have a lot of good examples from other countries which have a virtual airlines, and it works quite well. So it's just up to us.
Very good. Thank you, Artūras, again. So let's move to the next presentation by Audrius. This is the connectivity's effect on the attraction of foreign direct investment. So Audrius, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. You should see my screen now.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Yeah. So hello once again. So as you mentioned, my topic of the presentation is about the connectivity and how it is involved, and also how it affects the attraction of foreign direct investment here in Lithuania. So I will try to be as present you as more practical knowledge and experience we have as possible. So to start with, it's just somebody might know or somebody might not know what Invest Lithuania does. So just a short introduction. We are a foreign official agency of the foreign direct investment here in Lithuania. We are controlled by the Ministry of Economy and Innovation. So we are a governmental institution with a sole purpose of attracting foreign direct investors here in Lithuania. In the organization, we have a few different departments that are focused on different topics, but all together, once again, we are working in attracting investors to Lithuania. So we have on one side an advisory department. So basically, this is where I come from the Department of Advisors that work on attracting investors. So basically communicating and dealing and arranging everything from visiting details of visiting Lithuania to helping out assessing the location of Lithuania and comparing other locations for the investors. Then we have project management office. So basically this is our backbone of our organization. It's a team of experts in different on different subjects. So we have infrastructure, we have education experts that working with the Ministry of Education, just to make sure that the talent developed here in Lithuania meets the needs of the investors. We also have our internal communication department. So basically we have our digital marketing and public relation team working not only on building the image of Invest Lithuania here in Lithuania, here locally, but also throughout the world. They are also helping on the communication matters for the investors that are coming to Lithuania and that are also are already established here in Lithuania. So just making sure that the communication aspect of the attraction of the investments are efficient, and also the message is always right on the spot. And we also have a few programs next to our organization. So one is Work in Lithuania. So basically a team that is working on attracting foreign talent. So basically not the foreign investors, but foreign talent and also Lithuanians that are migrated to other countries for some reason. So we are working on attracting them back and showing the possibility what can they do here in Lithuania. And also we have a one more program which is called Create Lithuania. So once again, Lithuanians that lived for quite some time and studied for quite some time abroad, we are inviting them back to Lithuania to work for almost a year in different governmental bodies, organizations, to figure out and implement some sort of projects that could I would say make our investment climate better. So basically this is the organization itself. Looking at the just general statistics of what we do and how we do it. So for we have quite a few different goals, our organization, and one of them is creation of new jobs. So basically, we are targeting at the investors that would create here jobs, and our goal is to make them plan as many jobs as they can. So you can see from the 2010 up to 2019, it was quite an increase in number of new jobs planned. So on the left side, you see of the screen, you see this change in the numbers. And on the right side of the screen, you see the number of jobs that were created in 2019 by the foreign investors, and you can see the split of different teams or products that we are working on. So we have a manufacturing team that is working on our companies like Continental, Hell, and other automotive industry giants. We also have global business service and information communication team. So I'm a key executive of this team. So as you can see, the majority of jobs planned in 2018 came from our team. So basically what it clearly shows that global business service organizations are the ones that creating the most significant number of jobs here in Lithuania in terms of the foreign direct investment. And also we have another team that is focused on tech organizations. So the number is a bit lower, is the lowest when it comes to jobs planned, but yeah, those jobs are very high added value and well paid, and they are usually just small teams that are brought here to Lithuania, but they are very, very difficult and very well paid. So as I mentioned, the number of the jobs, the most significant number of jobs come from the global business service organization. So what that means is that actually these kind of organizations are the ones that fly the most compared to other type of investors. So when we look at the global business service industry here in Lithuania, so we have at the moment 81, actually 83 right now, because over the past month we attracted 2 more major names to Lithuania. But you can see the split of how what is international split from what countries the headquarters and the organization themselves come. So majority of them are from the United States. Then we have a huge part from the Nordics, from Nordic countries. We also have Germany, UK, and the rest are from different kind of locations all around the world. And you can see on the right side of the screen that the shift, how the industry expanded. So at the moment we have more than 19,000 employees solely working only in global business service industry, and we think that this year we will finish with the number 20,000. So basically, we still even in this global pandemic situation, we see an increase in new jobs that are being created here in Lithuania. So what are the reasons why investors actually choose Lithuania or any other country for that matter? So when it comes to the first thing, most of the successful countries, the countries that attract the most foreign investors, what they look at is a different type of global rankings. The rankings that evaluate country by country on different aspects, and this is not only gives a recognition or to be recognized around the globe as a Lithuania as a country, but also it gives investors a good comparison. So what is a investment in the environment in Lithuania, even without contacting us, our organization, or any other party in Lithuania. So when we look at the global rankings, we see that Lithuania has quite a lot of effort put into making sure that our investment climate is as competitive as possible. So in most of the major rankings, we see that Lithuania is very competitive, and in many times we actually look better compared to the greatest countries around the world. And despite of that, in the bottom line of the slide, you can see that despite of being well developed in the investment environment aspects, we are lacking behind in terms of connectivity, and these are the numbers even prior COVID-19 situation. So as those numbers can actually even drop down. So we have what this shows is that Lithuania has quite a lot of potential. If we can increase our connectivity, then I'd say the numbers of the investors we attract in Lithuania would be even bigger. And why the connectivity is so important. So when we talk with our investors who decide to come to Lithuania, or even the ones that decide not to come to Lithuania, we make assessments of what were the main reasons why they did or did not choose Lithuania. And for many years now, air connectivity, especially in terms from the business service organizations, air connectivity is on the top priority list, meaning that these organizations look quite strictly in a way a country could be reached via airlines. So it is very important, and you can see a few quotes from the consultant companies that will basically help figure out what would be the best location for a company to operate their business. So as you can see from the quotes, that we did lose quite a lot of investors just because the air connectivity wasn't that good compared to other locations that were evaluated at that moment. So having that in mind, that having that aspect, importance of the air connectivity when attracting investors, and knowing and understanding the importance of it, Ministry of Economy and Innovation, together with the Ministry of Transportation, as well as Lithuanian Airports Organization and Invest Lithuania, we did this initiative, let's call it this way, to actually make a a new route available from Vilnius to London City. The flight is basically oriented, the idea was to have it oriented to the business needs. So we have 12 flights weekly, and it took quite some time in order to make it happen. It took more than 3 years, starting from the generating the idea to actual flights. So it took quite some time. However, after that, after opening the flight, we did see new big names that decided to come to Lithuania. And when we asked, so what were the reasons why you come to Lithuania, most of them specifically said that Vilnius London City route was one of the reasons that they chose Lithuania. So we have this Moody's organization, it's the global credit ranking organization. We have a Fortune 500 company that is ranked at the 10th place, Amerisourcebergen here in Vilnius. We also have a unicorn Revolut, which has its banking services, not only commercial part, but also the covering all the operational activities also of the global organization here in Lithuania. So what we see that big names choose Lithuania just solely of the flight we managed to create. So we see this as a very successful initiative, and hopefully we not even well, despite this situation with COVID, we want for the flight to be operating, of course, taking in concern the safety elements and everything else. But yes, this flight is very important. And just to understand why the connection is important, so it's just a case study of one of the investors we have here in Lithuania. It's IATA. It's a global fertilizer producer. Globally, they have more than 16,000 employees, and you can see the locations they have, their operation facilities all across Europe, and also the western part of the globe, the United States, and also the eastern part of the globe, the Asia market. So you can see that the people working in Vilnius have to travel quite a lot from one location to another. So having this in mind is just a simple example, but most of the investors, some have not tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands of employees all across the globe. So for them, air connectivity is just a must. It's not something that could be taken into I don't know, in a second elements when deciding why to choose Lithuania or why not to choose. So from our experience, it is a must. So, yeah.
Audrius, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Your presentation has raised some questions. For the sake of time, I will just raise one with you right now while Simonas is uploading his presentation. So, is there any plan to attract significant players from the travel industry?
From the travel industry?
Yes.
What would could you be more specific? Because as Artūras mentioned, travel industry is quite wide. We actually have some investors that are working in a travel industry, not well, sort of directly. Let's say we have a Booking.com office here in Lithuania that has a few hundred of employees. So we do know that just because of the COVID-19 situation and the drop of the amount of business that you can do, obviously the organization also is struggling to keep up with their initial goals that were prior COVID-19. So yeah, of course, it's it's on the side that we have those players here, and they are we see that they have some difficulties attracting newcomers from this area. It would be a hard thing to do now, because most of the companies that are actually directly working with the aviation or transportation, it's a bit challenging at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. A very interesting presentation, very nice figures, and also a reconfirmation of what we actually believe, that countries with high connectivity will have a better future in the post-pandemic era. And
yeah,
that takes me.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is very actually correct. Just one point from my side. I just also on numbers to understand how the COVID affected. So every single year we have, I'd say, from 100 to 200 visits from the foreign investors here in Lithuania. So let's say the second quarter of 2020. We had only 3 visits. When comparing a year ago, we had almost 40 visits from the investors. And the visit itself, it's basically nobody makes a final decision to do an investment before actually physically arriving to a country.
Makes
so
sense.
It's quite a challenging situation.
Thanks again. So I'll pass now the presentation to Simonas. He will talk to us about the industry recovery in the post-COVID-19. I think he can open up with an already very powerful slide. So Simonas, it's up to you now to continue.
Okay, thanks a lot for giving a floor. Good afternoon, everyone, once again. I would like to give some of my views to the current situation in aviation and what we should expect going forward. I'm an aviation business analyst, but today I will not give that much of data news, but I would like to talk about the situation in general and what's coming, at least from my view. And yes, some small spoiler alert before going forward. I think nobody knows what is coming, but we can just try to guess. So most of you know me, I think. Maybe some of you who are reading in Lithuanian, following my articles called Aviation is rock and rollers. If somebody wants to join that movement, so I'm happy to see you coming. So speaking about today, first of all, we have to see the current situation as a crisis for travel. Even though not only travel, but people's mobility in general. This is not a crisis only for aviation. We can even see fewer cars in the streets and fewer people in the old town these days. And I actually checked how the most famous train line in Europe, Eurostar, is doing now. If last winter we saw 12 daily trains going between London and Paris, this winter there are only 3 trains a day in operation. We saw 7 daily trains to Brussels last year and 3 to Amsterdam from London. And this winter we have only 2 trains to Brussels, and 1 of them continues further to Amsterdam. So I believe many of us saw the latest researchers saying people are not afraid to get COVID caught on the aircraft. In some extent, people are afraid of crowded airports, but in general, people are mainly afraid going to the destination, and it's the destination problem in most cases. The airline industry is affected more than other travel industries just because we bring people further than the other modes of transportation, in my view. Again, we in this industry, we know that the airline industry as such showed up as a crisis-proof industry, and if you look at historical data, the industry survived all the crises so far and recovered very fast from each crisis. Was it a war, pandemic, or financial crisis? Anyway, this significant drop we see this year, and I expect we will end up seeing the drop between 60 and 70% in passengers flown. This is something unseen, and it will set a new base for the future years. everyone's expectation is, how to get back to 2019 numbers as soon as possible. And when we are looking for the forecasts, most of the forecasts, are raising the questions and trying to find answers. When should it come back? It will come back sooner or later. I'm sure, and I think everybody in this industry is sure about that. But I believe that the shape of the industry might be and will be different than we saw in 2019. To get to recovery, the travel industry needs to win back the trust of traveler, I believe. Travelers these days feels the impact of global pandemics, not by only the risk for their health, but also by how different countries and how strategies of different countries with quarantines and isolation and testing are affecting the travel and creating new risks when traveling. The more far traveler needs to go, the more unexpected rules he or she could face, and even more important, these rules are constantly changing in many cases with very, very short notices. At the same time, the traveler feels the collapse of international relations and treaties. Where traveling was without any restrictions, now it may be testing, it might be quarantine, sometimes even visas or other hard barriers was created during this pandemic. We see even in Europe countries are not able to agree on the same rules and same measures. Last but not least, many travelers are living in the world of economic uncertainties. So I think many businesses we can now see in survival mode, not only in aviation or other travel industries, but we can see the same about other businesses being hit by lockdowns like restaurants or other. And also in a corporation world, we see the travel budgets are the ones which are reduced first. I believe myself being a marketer, I can say, so what if you work for a corporation, what you see first being cut during the economic downturn. So corporations cut marketing and travel costs. Plus, at the same time, now it's even a trend, to forbid traveling, even when it's needed, just to keep employees safe. At the same time, there are many uncertainties for the personal finances too. I believe for many travelers all around the world. And when looking at the behavior, we already see that there are a few trends happening, which I believe may set the future for traveling. This may sound a really small changes in the passenger behavior, but in many cases, what's changed during bad times even stays for longer. We can see that the countries with large domestic markets recover first. We can see from the data that the China domestic market is close to what it was last year, and the Russian domestic market was even growing in summer. So I believe that this trend may follow to international travel too. For a long time, I believe travelers will prefer short-haul travel over long-haul travel, both due to possibility to travel directly, because when you fly directly, the less risk you are taking, and also because of easiness to return if things are going wrong. There are a few data sources I saw who support the trend of last-minute planning, and I think people from airline industry sitting here today, and then from travel industry can approve my message. I believe that most of the travel is now booked in the last few days just before the travel. This is, I think, challenge for all the travel industry suppliers, but I think this might be something to stay even with rapid recovery. Travelers may back sooner than the ability to travel well in advance. I also saw some scanners data that also shows a jump of 22% of one-way travel searches. This is another new trend we need to follow, and airlines need to adopt. We will see more travelers who are planning to go one way with flexible return or even no return in foreseeable future. Yeah, the group travel, again, another trend. We see that people are willing to travel alone or with family members only. So to end up my presentation, I just think that our brain can easily be pushed to pessimism mode. It's very easy thing to do. The forecasters in many cases are looking for the straight lines to forecast the future, because something you want to see and something which is easy to see, straight lines. And assuming that something ugly will stay ugly is an easy forecast to make, and we can see many forecasters saying that. But I think it's persuasive because it doesn't require imagining or the world seeing how it's changing. But I think what's important to understand that problems correct and people adapt. And yeah, I think in forecasts for the recovery, the ability how markets will change and people's ability to adapt to situations is really underrated. And we can see the people's behaviors changing, and I think the markets will follow. We can't be sure how the traveling will look like in 5 years or 10 years, but I'm sure that the numbers will go back. But we will see that the profile of the traveler and the travel itself will change. It will change a lot, and the numbers will not stay ugly as they are now. But we all being travelers and we all being in this industry, we need to follow the trends and see how to adapt to the new normal. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Simonas. It was a very inspiring presentation with very interesting notes. It's a pleasure to listen to you and learn from you. I will keep the positive note that the aviation industry during its whole history has recovered from all the crises that it went through, and that we are hopeful that will happen again and as soon as possible. So thanks again. So for the sake of time, I already anticipate that we'll need some extra time to go through the remaining presentations. So I will let the floor to Rūta from SAS to talk about the green change in aviation.
Yeah, thanks for letting me speaking here. SAS is in the sky. It's almost 75 years. So obviously a lot of things had happened during these times. Many things has changed. And if you look to the current situation, just I don't know, I can't move my presentation. I don't know. It doesn't work.
Okay. Would you like me to upload your presentation?
Yeah, maybe you can do that while I'm speaking. Just oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
you
no
can
problem.
upload. So yeah, looking at the current situation, like already Catrin said, our lives have changed privately and professionally. And example is this, that now we meet digitally, less personal meetings, less travels. And from a Lithuanian perspective, SAS here in Lithuania is almost back to early 90s. Before the pandemic, we had 5 departures per day, and now we are down to 3 per week, which is actually the same what we had in 1992. And this is not because we don't want to fly, no. It's just because the demand is low and the different restrictions from government coming here. However, looking to the past and asking our customers, looking to the future, we see that need of face-to-face meetings will remain and continuous to travel will be. But as Simonas said, it will be a different travel, a different profile of the customers. But that's why we at SAS are committed to make it possible. And looking from the business side, that we see that the link between the Nordic countries and the world is crucial for businesses to grow, for relationships to be established, and for the overall infrastructure. But infrastructure needs to be different now. It needs to be focused on the climate change and sustainability. And I just briefly will share what at SAS we are doing in 3 different areas for more sustainable future. First of all is to reduce our emission, and our biggest investment is a new modern fleet, which will reduce emission up to 30%. And at the same time, we are phasing out our older fleet as faster as before. But this is not enough. And on our second focus area is new technologies, such as biofuel. Biofuel is good as it reduces emission up to 80%. And here we are working with the different players in the market like EBP and Prim to produce more biofuel in the market. But this is also not final. We are in partnership with Airbus in order to pave the way for the new electric hybrid technologies in commercial aviation. And finally, we are working on the area to offer more sustainable products and services. And one of this is offsetting CO2 for all our frequent customers, so what we already do for more than a year. And another ambition is by 2030, we will be 100% fossil free for all things we bring on board of aircraft. And for example, on board of Copenhagen, New York aircraft, we have about 10,000 items. So this is also a very ambitious plan. So just to give briefly an idea what we do at SAS, and I know that we are short of time, so I was trying to be as quick as possible. Thank you.
You were very quick. Thank you, Rūta. Just I have a question for you, because you know the environmental topic is quite hot, at least in Scandinavia, maybe not that much in Lithuania. So what would you say to those that somehow reflect that taking an alternative transport mode, like a private vehicle or a bus or a train, is more environmentally friendly compared to taking an aircraft right now?
Well, yeah, those questions are raised very much in our industry. But as we know, also that people are saying even now that with the grounded aircrafts, the emission went down by almost 70%. And someone will say that this is like fantastic, this is great. But and this is good for the planet. But what about what we see with the impacts on economies, paralyzed economies, people's private lives? So this is not a question. Flying less is not a solution. The flying more sustainable, that's a solution, I would say.
Thank you so much. A very good answer and to the point. So let's move to the last presentation of Žydrė about tourism and connectivity in pandemic times.
The main idea what I would like to share is the numbers in travel business in the Lithuanian industry. First of all, you know, I'm representing as well Estravel, the leading travel agency network in the Baltics, and we used to be the biggest one, and we still hope to be the biggest one after the crisis. And what we are doing today, we are trying to help small part of travelers who are still traveling and be as much as effective in communication as it's possible. Secondly, it's really tough, really tough. So there is nothing so good to share about the travel agency activity today, but so let's get to the industry. According to the World Bank, Lithuanian GDP from travel business or from travel industry is 5%. So we are contributing, I say we, I mean all the travel industry in Lithuania, more than 1 billion euro, more than 1 billion euros to Lithuanian economy, and 14,000 direct jobs and 36,000 indirect jobs. So it's quite a big part of the jobs and quite big part of export of travel business. Now let's move to another slide. And I would like to show, when we talk about the numbers, let's assume what kind of jobs we have in travel industry. The biggest player in jobs in travel industry is accommodation sector. It means restaurants, farmsteads, and all the accommodation possibilities. and they did have nearly 8,000 jobs in Lithuania. And the second biggest one is travel agents and tour operators. Used to be more than 3,000 employees, and it might be that we have slight different numbers with Artūras. Let's go back. So it was more than 1,000 jobs in aviation, and nearly 2,000 jobs as a guide. So let's move to another slide, and we'll see how it changed in comparison to February to September. Actually, we lost already more than 50% of jobs in travel industry in 7 months. That's, I would say, looking at Europe, it's really the biggest loss in Europe. And we lost nearly 2,000 employees in accommodation, and 1/3 in tour operators business, and half in aviation. That's really, really a lot. And actually, all the employees are leaving to other industries. So that is the biggest and the most, the biggest and the headache of ours today. We understand that travel will come back. It will come back different. But if we will not have professional employees, it will be difficult to restart the travel. So what we're doing right now, we do work. I already forgot to mention that 50% of left employees, when we talk, it's less than 6,000 employees, 50% of those are on standstill. So it means they are not working today, and they are candidates to get fired as well. So it might happen if there will be no effective subsidies from government, so that travel industry will decrease by 75%. So it's really huge and not positive number, but we are working hard to get subsidies, and we hope that with new governments we will get subsidies. And not only, and let's move to the last slide. So what we do need, I totally agree with Catrin and Simonas that effective regulation of travel restrictions is a must, as well as testing. In Lithuania, it's not yet effective on testing, and there's no possibility to do testing in the airports. And I do believe with new government, we will manage to create this scheme. Subsidies for supports and jobs. And recently, 45 minutes ago, it seems that we are on the right track, and it might be that it might happen that travel industry will get some subsidies until the end of the year, but we need to investigate more. I know that Prime Minister just approved the scheme, an action plan to regain the confidence of the travelers. And we are not only talking about incoming travelers, we are talking as well about the outgoing travelers. The travelers are really, really in difficult situation, but the good sign, and to finish with the good sign, is the travelers are trusting more travel agents nowadays than it used to be a year ago. So, shortly from my side.
Thank you so much, Žydrė. Just listening to your presentation and having in mind that there is a recently elected government in Lithuania, if let's say we had the honor to have the Minister of Transport present in today's webinar, what would be the most immediate action that you would ask from a newly elected and appointed Minister of Transport to take when it comes to the travel industry in your country?
The biggest headache of Transport Ministry, there is no connectivity strategy at all. I was trying to get this connectivity strategy, how we are going to gain back all the flights, how we are going to gain back all the trains. Okay, trains are not so popular in Lithuania, but still all the connectivity. And that was my main question to the, not former, but nowadays Transport Ministry. And I hope that would be one of the most important things to create the strategy, especially after COVID strategy, and to follow it.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. I have one question for Audrius in the chat box.
Yes.
The question is, what solutions would Invest Lithuania have? For example, structural plans, projects, governmental collaborations to increase the attraction of foreign direct investments. Is it only about flight connections, or do we have other important structural aspects And if so, which?
Yeah, so yeah, we have quite a lot of different aspects that we need to take into consideration. As I mentioned before, there are quite a few elements why investors choose or don't choose Lithuania, and one of the most significant is availability of talent. What that means is every single investor looks, so will they find necessary people here in Lithuania? So our job, as an organization job, is to make sure that the ministries and all the bodies that are in charge of educational system, firstly educational system, works efficiently. What that means that they should put effort into planning and understanding what are those future professions or what are the future needs are, and the study programs, that even starting from the secondary school, everything has to be based into the future professions. So we should not prepare specialists that will not be needed tomorrow. We have to make the shift and understand that, well, basically education is a backbone of any foreign attractions, for foreign investors, because at the end the people are the ones who are working, and if they don't have right people, then it's hard to work and say that Lithuania is competitive. And in most cases, when we lose, for foreign investors lose, I mean, in the competition with the other countries, talent availability is one of the main reasons. I'd say like 70, 80, or even 90% of the time.
Very good. Thank you for the comprehensive answer. I don't see any more questions in the chat box. If there's anything that needs to be asked, anyone can raise the hand or just insert it. Otherwise, because we are a little bit ahead of time due to the technological issues we have faced in the beginning, I would like to thank you all for very, very nice presentations. I think we all got a bit wiser after listening to you. The presentation can be shared with the participants, and there's also a recorded version. So, Jone, I will leave that to you. Of course, everybody has your contact details, so they can reach out to you for more details. So thank you very, very much. I really hope that we will be able to meet in person, and I think that we all coincide that despite the challenges, there are signs also of optimism, and we should keep those positive signs when we think and when we deal with such a big crisis. So from my side, thank you very, very much. And again, looking forward to meeting you in person.
Thank you very, very much on behalf of the Swedish Chamber as well. Apologies for some technical issues, but yes, all presentations, given they're confirmed by the speakers, will be shared with you as of tomorrow, and the link to the video recording as well. So stay safe, and let's hope we can fly and meet each other very, very much soon. Thank you very much, everyone.